What's up, viewers? This is JAM for 12205. So, we're gonna go over the calendar systems. So, we know that years right there are before Christ or before Common Era. The years on that side right here are Anno Domini and Common Era. And as if I get closer to the board, of course, this is what I'm going to show you. Year 0, which is X'd off because there is no year 0, of course. But that doesn't mean there is a year 1 either. Why? Because it was made up by Dionysus, of course. Because those years like back then were in a different calendar system. Because the calendar system we have now is the Gregorian Calendar system, which was invented in 525. And 525 would be around right over here. Yeah. And yeah, for purists that say that the millennium, century, and decade began in 2001, that's so false. That's such a big fat-ass error. Why? The millennium, century, and decade always start with 0 on the 1's digit spot. Not with 1 on the 1's digit spot. Because that doesn't make any sense. Like, think about it. Because, like, think about it. Like, when, during the 1800 election, that was in the 19th century, not 18th century. When McKinley was re-elected president, he was re-elected president in the start of the 20th century, not the end of the 19th century. In 2000, George W. Bush got elected president in the start of the 3rd millennium and 21st century, not the end of the 2nd millennium and 20th century. Because tell me about it. For people who say 2001 was the start of the millennium, they're purists. Because they're just being dumb, of course. It doesn't matter if there is no year 0. And how can Jesus be born on the time before his time and before Common Era? Maybe Jesus was born on 1, even though it didn't exist. Like, it's just, like I said, it's on another calendar system. And of course, the present we're on now is over there, which is near 2500. Because I made the line very long, of course. Well, not typically long, but with lots of these years, of course. So yeah, right now we are in the 2010s decade, and for purists that say next year we're still in the 2010s until 2021, that's not true, because next year is the new decade. Next year we're in 2020s, because next year is 2020, and will also be the presidential election if Trump gets reelected. Yeah, like, and we are in the 21st century, of course. And the 21st century will end in December 31st, 2099. And then when it gets to the 22nd century in 2100, yeah, like, many cities around the coastal side will be flooded, all because of that due to global warming effect right there. Yeah, so yeah, I'm just basically doing some math, science, and history at the same time together, of course. And we are in the 3rd millennium, of course. And yeah, the New Year's Eve of 1999 was the biggest New Year's Eve of all time. Because he was parting of new year, new decade, new century, and new millennium. 1999 to 2000, goodbye 1999, hello 2000. Goodbye 90s, hello 2000s. Goodbye 20th century, hello 21st century. And goodbye 2nd millennium, hello 3rd millennium. Yeah, like, So the third millennium will end in December 31st, 2999. Which means the fourth millennium will start on January 1st, 3000, of course. Because tell me about it. And even on ages, that still has problems. Because purists think that you're not a decade old until you're 11. And you're not a centurion until you're 101. And you're not an adult until you're 22. You're not a senior until you're 64. Not a teen until 14. Not a toddler until age 2. Bruh. That does not matter. Infant/baby is 0, of course. Age 0 because that was just a few months after you're born. Ages 1 to 3 or 2 to 3 is toddler. Ages 4 to 9 is a kid. Ages 10 to 12 is preteen. Ages 13 to 17 is teenager. Ages 18 to 20 is young adult. Ages 21 to 64 is adult. Ages 65 to 99 is senior. Ages 100 and up is a centurion. So yeah, that's right. Because I became a decade old in April 12th, 2015. Meaning I was born April 12th, 2005. Which means I was born in the 2005th year of the Anno Domini or Common Era. Born in the 6th year of the 3rd millennium, 6th year of the 21st century, and the 6th year of the 2000s decade. Even Apple Bricks and Bella Gamer Girl 22. But Gardening Tool, she told me she was born in 2006. So, which means she was born in the 2006th year of the Anno Domini Common Era, 7th year of the 3rd millennium, 7th year of the 21st century, and 7th year of the 2000s decade. And there's another thing about wars, of course. Like, purists think that the Korean War started when it was still the 40s. And that's not true. The Korean War started in 1950, meaning the start of the 50s decade. Because when there's New Year's Eve of entering a new decade, they say goodbye to the old decade and say hello to the new decade. So yeah, with 0 on the ones digit place to enter the decade. Because with 9 on the ones digit place, which is now, is the last year of the decade, century, or millennium. And it's the last year of the 2010s, of course. And did you know that back then, March would be the first year of the calendar system, which was the ancient Roman calendar system, of course. Yeah, and now January is the first month of the year. That's to prove that those years way back then do not exist on the Gregorian calendar system, when it was 525, of course. And I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about the years, of course. So yeah, remember, there is no year 0, but there are those years right there do not exist either. Because think about it, if you think Jesus was born on the year 0, that's so wrong. He may be born on 1, maybe on 1, even though it didn't exist. And yeah, we did know that Jesus got crucified and has rose from the dead around the decades of the 30s, like not 1930s, but about around 30 years after the Common Era or Anno Domini began. So yeah, B.C. stands for before Christ, B.C.E. stands for before Common Era, and A.D. stands for a Latin term, Anno Domini, which is the year of the Lord, and C.E. stands for Common Era. So I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. So make sure to subscribe and bye.